Secretary of State Baker, what is his disposition on it?
Well, you have to remember that we have agreements that we agreed upon with the United States, and by the way, through the United States with Syria, that these would be direct talks, bilateral talks, that this meeting, however important, however symbolic, would lead to negotiations around the table where Syria sits on one side, we sit on the other side, and that's how you make peace.
Well, is that what's going to happen on Sunday?
Well, it certainly is what we hope will happen and what we're asking to happen. We also think it should happen in the region. We don't have to meet in Europe because there's peace in Europe. Peace is not in the Middle East yet. That's where we want to meet.
The venue for the talks is an issue, I understand that, but let me come back to the question about the discussions on this point that you've had with Secretary of State Baker. Any progress? Have you received assurances that the U.S. will tell the Syrians, for example, that either they will or will not be there with the Soviets?
Well, I can't believe that the Syrians who said that they would come to this gathering for the purpose of conducting direct negotiations would just bolt out, because that's really basically obstructing the whole progress. And we would like to see, we don't ask the Syrians, we don't ask any of the Arabs to accept our positions, just as we hope they don't ask us to accept a priori their positions. What we've come here to do is to begin a process of mutual negotiations. And this can happen, I believe, if we stick to the rules of the game as we've laid it out. Ceremonial opening followed by direct negotiations, us with the Syrians, us with the Jordanians, us with the Lebanese. And that's where we want to go.
And you want to go there on Sunday?
Well, we want to go there as soon as possible. It may take a few more days.
You have expressed some very skeptical comments about this whole process coming into it. But now you're here. How do you feel about it?
I feel terrific. I think this, in the sense that if this lives up to what we expect, I think it could be a great opportunity. In that sense, I think my mood reflects the hope of just about everyone in Israel. We want to see an end to the state of war that the Arab world has imposed on us. And I think the important part of this meeting is the breaking down of the taboos, breaking down of this wall of hostility that says we don't sit together, we don't accept Israel, we don't think you ever exist. All of a sudden we exist, and that's important. But now from here, from this symbolic opening, we have to move on to the real business, the real task of negotiating the issues. And there are different issues between us and the Syrians, different issues between us and Jordan, and so on. This has to be, I think, resolved. And if we move forward, then I'll feel very good. If it doesn't, then a great hope, I think, will have been waiting.
Now, there has been violence and further attacks in the region just since this conference approached. How does that affect your posture, the Israeli posture here?
I think everybody in Israel is anxious, concerned, saddened by the fact that 5 Israelis have been murdered in the last 24 hours. A father of 4, a mother, a young mother of 7. There are 7 fresh orphans now in Israel. Attacks on our northern border, trying to penetrate the village of Zarit, a civilian target. Where do these attacks come from? The PFLP, a constituent member of the PLO, has claimed responsibility for one. The other comes from fundamentalists who operate from Syrian-controlled territory in Lebanon.
Okay, how does that affect your posture here?
Well, you have to ask a simple question. We know that there are people who don't want to move forward peace. But we also know that they reside, these terror organizations, this PLO headquarters is in Syria, the Syrian capital. We know that the people who attacked us from Lebanon are in Syrian-controlled territory in Lebanon, and Lebanon itself is represented here. We asked the Arabs to do a very simple thing. We asked them not only to talk peace, but to act peace.
But there have been warnings that there may be extremist groups that might not act peace leading up to this. The question is, what does that do to Israel's position here?
We're not going to be deterred from moving forward in the process for peace because of these attacks. But when we look at the other side, we say to them, look, you can't just say, oh, well, these attacks are coming from the air. They're not coming from the air. They're not coming from Mars or Jupiter. They're coming from territory, sovereign territory that you control. It's your responsibility not only to come here and talk peace, but to do peace in the region. You cannot, on the one hand, allow terrorists to operate against Israel, to make war against Israel, and at the same time to come here and pretend as though nothing is happening. We would like to see a complete dedication to peace on the part of the Arabs, a renunciation of this, a condemnation of these acts of terror, and what's more important, to get on with the business now. Once we put this violence aside, as we hope we will, to get on with the business of negotiating peace. It's a tough negotiation, but that's what we've come here for.
Just the beginning. Benjamin Netanyahu, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Catherine?